want to encourage the United States government and its people to actively participate in helping to restore Korean democracy. The United States and Korea have a mutual defense treaty together. Under Article 3 of the Mutual Defense Treaty, the parties are obligated to fight against cyber attacks. That provision has been triggered by cyber attacks in election interference. Out of all the countries in the world, South Korea is number 2 in counting the U.S. as the most important ally. 89% of Koreans. Meanwhile, 80% of South Koreans are against the Chinese Communist Party. The will of the people must be expressed in this democracy. It is your voices and your will that should control in this democracy. This country belongs to you. Do not forget it. I believe that God loves Korea. I believe we will save Korea. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. He is the truth with a capital T, and there are no lies in him. The government rests upon his shoulders, and all authority and power is in his hands. And he has not forgotten South Korea. Put your hope in him. He is the one who can intervene in a decisive way. And he can use all of you towards that end. Do not give up. Be encouraged. We go together. God loves you. I love you. Keep fighting the good fight. Encourage the United States government and its people to actively participate in helping to restore Korean democracy. The United States and Korea have a mutual defense treaty together. Under Article 3 of the Mutual Defense Treaty, the parties are obligated to fight against cyber attacks. That provision has been triggered by cyber attacks in election interference. Out of all the countries in the world, South Korea is number 2 in counting the U.S. as the most important ally. 89% of Koreans. Meanwhile, 80% of South Koreans are against the Chinese Communist Party. The will of the people must be expressed in this democracy. It is your voices and your will that should control in this democracy. This country belongs to you. Do not forget it.
민주당과 우리 대한민국은 윤석열 대통령을 끌어들여야 합니다.
This country exists for you. Your voices and your actions inspire me. Sometimes I watch videos of what you all are doing and it brings tears to my eyes. Right now is a time of great crisis. One of the major roots of the crisis comes from the Chinese Communist Party. When I served as a U.S. ambassador, I had the opportunity to bring about a mass atrocity determination for genocide and crimes against humanity against the Chinese Communist Party. They were crushing Xinjiang province, but it's not just Xinjiang, it includes other places too. They would crush Tibet, they were crushing the Falun Gong. They destroyed more Christian churches than all other governments in the world combined. And they are also involved in interfering inside of Korea. There are those from the Chinese Communist Party who have infiltrated into Korea. You also have the threat of communist North Korea. They have sent many nations have been impacted by communists. You have leftist radicals and communists who have seized control of many important parts of South Korean society. Every branch of government has been impacted. The unions, the media, the educational system, infiltration into Korean businesses, into even the military and police. It is like a giant snake that has wrapped itself around South Korean society and is squeezing the life out of it. Recently, President Yoon was imprisoned again. This constitutes cruel, indecent treatment of him that is a violation of his human rights. They are refusing to give him needed medicine for diabetes and shingles. They are putting him in a tiny cell. They do not allow him to exercise. They give him just one bottle of 500 milliliters of water per day in this sweltering heat. He is in danger of suffering from heat stroke as a result. The very things they accuse him of are the things that his enemies are doing to him. President Yoon is not an insurrectionist. He did not abuse his power. Actually, there was insurrection committed against him. And he is the one who has suffered from a coup d'etat. His treatment is a gross abuse of power and persecution. It violates international standards of human rights.
Joining me now is the former ambassador at large of global criminal justice for President Trump. This is Morris Tan, and he had a very important job in the previous Trump administration. You focused on war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about South Korea. This is a big topic. You're going to be speaking here 3 times at CPAC,
Yes.
and South Korea is going to be one of the main topics that you're covering.
Yes.
What do the American people need to know about what's happening there?
Yes. Well, the U.S. prevented South Korea from being taken over by North Korea during the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. We had 50,000 casualties during that war. There was more bombs dropped in the Korean War than all of World War II. And now South Koreans' democracy is on the brink. They are attempting to take out the duly elected president of Korea through impeachment and conviction before the South Korean Constitutional Court. There needs to be 6 out of 8 votes on the Constitutional Court to remove President Yoon, who is conservative, who is aligned with the U.S., who is standing up against North Korea and the Chinese Communist Party, who is also aligning himself with Japan together with the U.S. to counter North Korean and Chinese malign influence. And he is potentially weeks away from being prematurely cut off and removed from office because he dared to try to go after the election cheating. And there are many indicators of the election cheating that have been going on that has led to legislative tyranny and also all this malign influence from the Chinese Communist Party and North Korean communists permeating key parts of South Korean society. This is the crisis that our key ally, South Korea, is in right now as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when you think about South Korea has been a strong ally for us, but it's not just the immediate threat of North Korea like you're talking about, it's the long-term potential threat that China poses as well.
Yes.
When you think about everything that's happened, you said this is 3 weeks away from potentially occurring.
Potentially so, yes.
So we're probably going to be hearing about this more and more in the headlines.
Yes.
What needs to happen in order for people to start talking about this and wake up and pay attention to what's happening in South Korea?
Yeah, I think it would really help if our wonderful second Trump administration would be willing to speak into this. This would not be interfering in another country. This would be helping to see to it that the people's voice of South Korea, the democracy there, can actually operate as it should. Why are there Huawei components inside of the voting mechanisms in South Korea? Why are there Chinese protesters calling for the removal of President Yoon, who can't even speak Korean, but they're in Korea trying to advocate for the removal of President Yoon? Why are various North Korean operatives being allowed to run unchecked, spies and agents, because the South Korean legislature had slashed the funding to root out the North Korean spies in South Korea? These are the sorts of things that are happening. And because President Yoon dared to call this out, dared to seek evidence, the evidence for this through the servers and things along those lines, he's being attacked for that reason. Yeah.
You know, if you ask most Americans who our greatest foreign adversary is, they say China.
Yeah.
We really have to watch every single move that China is making.
Yes.
And I know when you were working for the Trump administration in the past
Yes.
that you focused heavily on China.
Yes.
What were some of the strides you made, and where do we need to focus now when it comes to China?
Yes, on the final day of the last Trump administration, we got across the finish line the mass atrocity determinations for genocide and crimes against humanity that the Chinese Communist Party is perpetrating. It's not only in Xinjiang province, it's also against those in Tibet. It's also against the Falun Gong. They've destroyed more Christian churches than any other government in the world. If you combine all the other governments in the world, they do not exceed the number of Christian churches that the Chinese Communist Party has destroyed. They're trying to change the Bible, of all things, and the Quran and other things along those lines. Anything that threatens the absolute allegiance that they are calling for in China. And if you are not a Han Chinese communist, you are less than in China and certainly outside of China. And so the Chinese Communist Party is playing for keeps. They're trying to dominate the world. They are trying to supplant the U.S. as the lone superpower. And we had many lines of effort in the Trump administration the first time around to counter the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party. And I expect that the second Trump administration will continue on that.
Well, thank you so much for speaking up about something that many people would not be as brazen as you to talk about. So thank you, and keep up on the good work, and keep us posted as well at RSBN.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be with you.
Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so again, people say that there's election fraud because they're seeing something like this. These are not natural ballots. The stiff ballots are not natural ballots. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Do you see that empty? This is not marked, but it's sorted. Using the machine, it's sorted to candidate 1, which is the DPK candidate. Okay, next slide, please. So so they try to hide this, yet the Stop the Steal, this book has become the bestseller recently because people are waking up. So this martial law, what that is doing is it woke people up. They're looking for this information, and then they're realizing that the election fraud is a big issue. The next slide, please. Okay, since I don't have time to get into all the details about the election issue, this is a North Korean leaflet that was found in the trash balloon recently, and it says right there, the only way for people to survive is to impeach Yoon Suk-yeol. This is like North Korea giving instructions to those forces in South Korea to impeach him. The next slide, please. Okay, so these are all the people that are impeached in the executive branch since the martial law. This is what they did. They are attacking and paralyzing the executive branch. This is what the Democratic Party of Korea is doing, weaponizing the National Assembly. Okay, next slide, please. So let's keep going through again, all this Save Korea, Stop the Steal, support U.S. Rock Alliance, pro-U.S. Next slide. In different places. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. They want China out because they know China's behind it. Next slide. This is just comparison. The one above, pro-U.S., anti-impeachment. And then down here at the bottom, hardly any support. Okay, next slide. You see, this is a pro-impeachment But there's Palestinian flag, there's rainbow flag. That's not Korean flag. They colored it. Okay, so this is there's some global force that's part of this movement that is trying to impeach Yoon Suk-yeol and destroy freedom of South Korea. Next slide, please. Again, this happened in December, and it says tear down U.S. military, which is behind the insurrection. Again, this is not an ordinary force. Okay, next slide, please. And they tried to block. The police put this bus wall, but people still got through. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is when they lay down to prevent the illegal CIO from trying to arrest President Yoon, which is, again, it was very illegal. This is what the police did. This is very unusual for South Korean police, usually very, very nice. They're very nice and cordial. This is what something like CCP's police would do. You saw this movement in Hong Kong, but this is not the only one, but this is what's happening in South Korea. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. I don't have that much time. So Constitutional Court justices, these 8 people, they are going to decide on the fate of South Korea. They are going to determine whether they are going to reject or accept the National Assembly's impeachment. And how much time do I have? 0? Okay. Let's say one thing. A lot of these constitutional justices are left-leaning, very heavily left. In fact, let me quickly say, Moon Hyung-bae, born on top left, he is the acting Chief Justice. He's close to Lee Jae-myung, and he was recently discovered that he was part of an online group that shared porn, 2,000 of them. And he discovered this during the impeachment hearing, so they had to take a break, and it was extended. The break was extended because he was too busy deleting his online comments that linked to him. I mean, it was extremely embarrassing. Okay, so in conclusion, we have a situation where one party is dominating South Korea. There's a lawfare. There's no free and fair election in South Korea. But next slide, please. This is what people are afraid of. This is what people are fighting. This communist forces of China and CCP and Democratic Party of Korea and Korean Workers' Party. This is what they're fighting. The next slide. This is the last slide. So people are out there fighting for their freedom. They are pro-U.S., pro-alliance with the United States, and they're doing what they can. And we should help our ally, the Republic of Korea, help them preserve our shared values. Thank you.